Good afternoon. Our next presentation is 6 Steps to Take Back Your Health with Robin Shirley. Robin Shirley is the founding president of Take Back Your Health International, a company that hosts internationally attended health conferences and retreats across the U.S. She speaks, consults, and writes about the Take Back Your Health lifestyle and how to reduce the symptoms of chronic illness. Robin grew up with out-of-control systemic inflammation, which her doctors labeled as systemic juvenile rheumatoid arthritis and chronic Lyme disease. At 23 years old, Robin was on track to file for disability and give up on her dream to run her own hospitality company. After 17 years of experimentation, research, and education, she has personally experienced the power of a therapeutic, healthy lifestyle on reducing pain and inflammation. Robin is finally free from pharmaceuticals and running the company of her dreams. Robin is a certified integrative nutrition health coach through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition and a member of the American Board of Drugless Practitioners. So let's give her a round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for attending my talk. I want to share a little bit of my journey through that diagnosis and the experience that she mentioned in my introduction and tell you all what worked for me. So many people are dealing with autoimmune conditions and Lyme disease and chronic pain. So it took me over almost 15 years to really find what works, and it was a long road to recovery. So if anything I can do to help people recover quicker is my mission. So first of all, I really like being at events like this because I love being surrounded by people who are also of the same mindset of wanting to recover naturally. It used to be really rare to find people that were interested in living a natural lifestyle. But it's just so inspiring to me, and you guys are what keeps me going. I host events and retreats, and being surrounded by people is really special. The reason why it's so nice to be surrounded by people who are taking back their health naturally is because we have hope, and we have hope because we know with our intuition, in our bones, we know that our body is meant to be healthy. Science has proven that our body can heal. Our cells regenerate. Personal experience, some of us have seen a loved one or a friend recover from illness, or we ourselves have felt how food has the power to heal in our own body. Again, others we know are going through similar things, and maybe they've healed naturally, so they're inspiration to you. There's a project called Documenting Hope that I wanted to share with you guys. You may have heard of it. And they are a partner of my company, Take Back Your Health. Jody Nelson is a woman that introduced me to them. She works with Documenting Hope, and they're based out of Northern Virginia, where I grew up, and where we host Take Back Your Health events, which I'll tell you guys about. But Documenting Hope, and if you'll run this video in a few seconds here, they work with chronically ill children and their families to help them recover naturally. And they have a team of doctors that are documenting the hope that other children can recover as well. So I wanted you guys to take a look at this video just to feel the hope and understand what my mission is, really. While they work on that, I'll just share that my diagnosis came when, at a really young age. I was in 7th grade, and I was at summer camp. The symptoms felt like I had the flu, actually. So the nurse just sent me back to the cabin and said, rest up, you have one more day of camp left. And so I actually ended up telling my parents, don't worry about me, just come get me tomorrow. And I ended up spiking a fever of almost 105 2 days later. And my parents took me to the ER, and we were wondering, what the heck's happening? So we went through the whole round of infectious disease doctors and ended up at Johns Hopkins with the diagnosis of systemic juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. It was a hell of a journey through middle school and high school and the first part of college, dealing with all the medications, the doctors. At my worst, I was in a wheelchair in the airport because I couldn't walk from the ticketing counter to my gate. So it was a lot of physical pain, the arthritis in my knees, my feet, my hips, my hands and my wrists. And that was the physical worst. The mental and emotional worst was suicidal depression when I was in college, just from all of the medications, the chronic pain effect on your mind and your emotions, and being in a position where I couldn't even really live the life that I thought I would be able to live at all, not even to a minute degree of what I wanted. So I ended up going on to leave college, come home, and try to figure out what was going on and how to heal naturally. I tried an elimination diet when I was in college, and I eliminated the top 5 allergens that at that time I found on Google search were affecting arthritis. And it was, I believe it was corn, soy, gluten, yeast, chocolate. Actually, there were a couple more: egg, dairy, and I think it was also beef at the time. They said, just try eliminating all of those and see what happens. I did, and within 2 weeks, all my symptoms were gone. It was remarkable. Completely, it blew me out of the water, because I had just spent the last almost 6-7 years of my life going in and out of being bedridden, spending who knows how many hundreds or tens of thousands of dollars in hospital visits and medical examinations with my parents' insurance. It was remarkable that this elimination diet helped in 2 weeks. I was at Virginia Tech at the time, and we had a horrible tragedy there the year I was there in 2016, the shootings at Virginia Tech, and it was my junior year, or my sophomore year, and my sister came down too. Great, you can just leave it paused and I'll hit play. Okay, so it was a difficult semester, and coming back, everyone was a little shaken up in the fall. They hosted, or Dave Matthews and some celebrities hosted a concert for us there, and it was over my sister's birthday weekend. She came down to visit, and we celebrated her birthday, and we went to the concert, and I had a gluten-free, dairy-free chocolate cake that had eggs, and I had a beer. And within 24 hours, all my symptoms were back. I had the rash, swollen joints, brain fog, digestive symptoms. It was crazy. So I knew at the time that there was something to that diet when all the symptoms came rushing back. And I thought, there's no way I can keep up with this diet when I'm in college. And for the next couple of weeks, I tried and I struggled. But I ended up calling my mom up on the week before fall break, and I said, Mom, I got to come home. I know that I can do this. I just need to focus, and I need some support in lifestyle and maintaining this healthy lifestyle. So I went home, and within a couple of weeks, I had a few divine intervention signs that just pointed to me, you got to get retested for Lyme disease. You got to get tested to figure out, because of course the infectious disease doctors had tried that diagnosis, but the test was negative. So I got retested, and the diagnosis was positive. 3 different doctors compared the test this time and looked at my symptoms and my history and everything, and so I knew what I was working with this time. It was an infection, a whole body, deep-rooted systemic infection, and I needed to address it as an infection nutritionally and supplements and lifestyle, as opposed to an overactive immune system. My immune system was actually responding, and it was a good thing that it was responding, but it wasn't able to overcome this infection. So if I can rewind a few minutes back to my diagnosis, it happened when I was in 8th grade, and I was 7th or 8th grade, and I was taking really elementary introductory level biology courses. And my doctor was saying, your immune system is wrong. It's overactive. We need to give you medication to suppress the immune system. That's what you do with autoimmune conditions. Well, in my head, I was thinking, what if there's something there that my immune system is reacting to? Like, have you really tested every possible thing that my immune system could be trying to get out of my body? And they never had a good answer for that. And it just bothered me. It really bothered me the whole time that I was going through the worst of the symptoms. And I just started going down the hole of, the candida and heavy metals and the Lyme disease, and all these signs just kept pointing at, you got to get tested again, you got to get tested. So I went to one of the kinesiologists that does the muscle testing. That I don't really trust a lot of the people that do that, because there's so many things that can interfere with your energy as you're being tested. But this woman is really, I don't know the right word, but she's completely thorough with all of her testing and has thousands of vials, and she gets all your energy aligned before she does it. And she said, "You have Lyme disease, Robin." and it was like, wow, she's so certain about that. And then I went to a cooking class, and someone said they were seeing a doctor that they loved, and it was helping them so much with their Lyme. And then our cat came in with ticks the next day. With my mom was worried the cats were going to get Lyme disease, and so I thought, oh my gosh, Lyme disease is everywhere, I got to get retested. That's how that happened, and I got retested, and from then on, the healing was able to happen because we knew what we were working with. So I gave you a fast-forward version of the story, but because I was sick at such a young age, I developed a really interesting relationship, a wonderful, beautiful relationship with my parents that I don't think a lot of children and parents get to enjoy. My parents were unique in their support of my natural health journey and wanting to recover that way, and they were unique in how patient they were with me when I was going through some of the worst symptoms and feeling completely awful about life, and I was just horrible to them, because that's sometimes how you are when you're sick. But we developed a really nice relationship, and I have some work to do in my future with children who are chronically ill, because it's just something that changed me so deeply, is going through that at such a young age. But anyways, I'm bringing it back to this Documenting Hope project that works with chronically ill children, and they're doing some amazing things. They just got like a $200,000 grant from Pure Encapsulation Supplement Company, and they work with some amazing doctors that you've seen in documentaries on natural health, I'm sure. But let me go ahead and show you this, and then I'll get on with the rest of the show. Oops, I might have just messed it all up.
The government says autism is showing up in children more than before.
1 in 50 school children has a form of autism.
Asthma rates rising dramatically over the past decade.
More than 1 in 7 children in the U.S. receiving a diagnosis of ADHD.
Numbers from the CDC have steadily increased in the past decade.
In the last 30 years, obesity rates for kids have tripled.
Frightening to parents to hear those dramatic numbers.
It may reduce the life expectancy of this generation of children and diminish their quality of life.
Our kids are sick. They're screaming out. They want help.
He still didn't have a single word. He was drooling. He was rubbing his head against the carpet. He was pushing himself into walls.
His eyes swelled shut. He was covered with hives from head to foot.
Probably around 14, 15 months, all that language disappeared.
From all that I can see, it looks like we've got a child here with pervasive developmental delay.
Noah, you keep holding your stomach. Does your side hurt?
Having a child with autism, it's not what you envision.
Unfortunately today, too many of our children, by analogy, function as canaries in the coal mine. They are teaching us that something is deeply out of order, deeply imbalanced, deeply in need of understanding, and largely lacking in therapy.
I think the first step to transforming this problem is to understand it. And we have not done a great job at that in healthcare.
We know that when our bodies are hit with toxins, it interferes with our biochemistry. They are not prepared for handling the 85,000 toxic chemicals on the market.
Whatever is lacking of essential nutrients that the body cannot make is going to control that whole system of cellular biology.
The brain is a physical organ of the body, and its health depends on the health of the cells. And when we address the body problems, the brain problems start to resolve.
What's wrong?
Most of the pediatricians I went to see basically told me there was no chance for recovery.
Your son was just born with this, and it would be best for you and your husband to just accept your new normal.
I knew Ben was going to get better the day I got the diagnosis. He's not going to get better. No, I'm not really hearing that.
When you tell a person that there's no hope, that their child will always be this way, that there's nothing you can do about it, that's not science. That's a misuse of statistics.
The doctor said, no, your boy will have autism for a very long time, but my mother didn't give up. She kept on thinking of ways to try and get rid of autism.
There's an abundance of intriguing individual cases, or what we call anecdotes. They cry out to be better studied and documented.
So to think that just a few short years ago, he had to be in a room with an air purifier plugged in to his nebulizer, flash forward to now, and he loves to hike and he loves to be outside. He couldn't do that a couple years ago.
People say kids can't recover. Well, they do recover. I've seen it. I've seen kids recover from autism, from ADHD, from Tourette's. I've seen it.
I feel like his true personality is coming through again. He has so many friends. He's got more best friends than I can count.
When he's doing BMX at the track and I'm sitting there watching him,
Come on, go, go!
I just know that there's no limits to what he can do.
If we do the science deeply, we will be able to document in ways that cannot be dismissed what many of us think we've been observing anecdotally, which is the improvements in these children.
This is one of the most important public health and scientific issues. We need to figure out how these people get better and reverse engineer it so we can do it for everyone.
Research has been largely fragmented across different communities and in different silos.
And I agree with our colleagues. There is no sufficiently documented comprehensive study that has thus far been executed. That's part of the fierce urgency for now.
We've been trained to believe that these illnesses are genetic and inborn and we need some kind of scientific miracle. That's not what we need right now. We need a fundamental rethinking on the optimization of our health and the minimization of threats to our health.
As we blaze this trail, others can learn as we have that it is possible to look at the individual, to remove obstacles to recovery, to evoke healing responses, and to do that in a way that is both very personal and rigorously scientific.
We're losing a generation of children. That's what's at stake.
If we project the current trends forward just half a century, everyone will be in a hospital bed taking care of the person next to them. We cannot continue on the current trajectory, and yet it shows no signs of abating.
Clearly there's something going on and there's something wrong when I can walk into a room of 20 kids and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there's at least one EpiPen in that room.
The economic cost is astronomical to our society, and the societal costs alone are tremendous.
Something is hurting our children, and pretty soon it's going to be 1 and 2. And then what? Then are we going to look at the issue?
The time is now for the scientific community to take recovery, environment, and nutrition seriously. Our future depends on it.
We need to start talking about our children's health.
The first day that I dropped him off and I picked him up and I put him in the car and I was like, did you have a great day at school? He's like, oh, I had a great day at school. And I was like, I am so proud of you, Connor. And from the back seat I hear, oh, I'm so proud of you too, Mom. I'm like, no, I'm proud of you. And no, I'm proud of you. I won. And I'm here. The reason why I'm doing this is I'm here to tell other parents, like, you can win too.
Okay. So I always tear up when I watch that, but it's just really remarkable what parents go through these days. And I know that it's happening so much more frequently than we know. The sad thing is that these children are hidden behind closed doors, and there isn't much place in society for them where they're welcome. So parents don't show what's happening. And so they stay home, and society doesn't know. So, but it is growing that fast. And I think one of the coolest things is when Martha says that doctors say, you know, this is what you're going to have to deal with. The kids can't recover from this. Autism is not curable, and so you're going to have to learn to take care of your son like this or your daughter like this. And she said that's not true. That's a misuse of statistics. What's happening is that doctors don't know how to recover children, but they can be recovered. And this is what that project's all about. So I just wanted to share it because I love their mission, and I wanted you guys to know that that it's there and that this is happening, that people are recovering their children. So anyways, why are we sick? Why do we have so much pain? And I have to share, I think the light side of this story is that I think it's an awakening for those who do end up developing chronic illness and for those around them. If you learn to work with the disease process and see it as a teacher, it takes a long time to get there emotionally after a diagnosis. It's so devastating, but that was what saved me and my family, is to really is to see it as a teacher. And out of all the negativity, what is the thing that I can take from this? And for me, I'll tell you, I know I started telling you I was 7th grade, the summer before 7th grade at summer camp was my first symptom, which is where I believe I was infected by an insect bite, and that's where the onset happened, because it was the straw that broke the camel's back of a lifetime of being on having an onslaught of toxins and antibiotics and stress in my life and sugar. So 18 years ago was the diagnosis, and I'm 30 years old now. I left college, like I said. I went on to study nutrition, and that was because I was sick. And my nutrition school inspired me to teach cooking classes. And I said, hey, Mom and Dad, can I teach some cooking classes out of your kitchen? And they said, okay. And I started, and it turned into one-day health retreats, and then it turned into 2-day conferences, and now it's turned into 4 or 5-day overnight health retreats. And I cook for people, and I teach them what I learned, and I walk them through the process of eating healthier first and foremost. And I absolutely love it. This company, Take Back Your Health, pushed me to move to Los Angeles to bring the Take Back Your Health conference to Pasadena. I met the love of my life, and I have a child now, and I didn't think I'd ever be able to have a baby. Autoimmune disease took away my fertility for many years, and now I'm just running the company of my dreams, and I'm happy and healthy, and I don't think that this would be my life if I didn't have that diagnosis. So I wouldn't change my life for anything. It happened exactly how it was meant to be, and I'm not regretful of any of it. So I think that back to the question, why are we sick and why do we have so much pain? I think we all know the physical, obvious reasons to do with the environment, the toxins, our lifestyle, our diet, but the spiritual reasons are there too. And I think that if we allow ourselves to see that, it can be a beautiful journey. So just for comparison, this was the 2nd or 3rd conference that I ever hosted, and I was too tired to take showers. I cut my hair short so I didn't have to wash my hair so often, and I was sitting down because I couldn't stand to speak. And if you had seen below, I'm not wearing shoes because it hurt too bad to wear shoes. And after this talk, one of the volunteers rolled me up to my hotel room on the bell cart because I couldn't walk. And it's just it's been a long journey, but I want to share what worked the most for me, back to the reality of this and what can you do. My symptoms were severe inflammation and chronic pain, depression, I had rash, and I had a lot of brain fog and digestive issues. So those were the main things going on, as well as the infertility and the disruption of my menstrual cycle. So over that journey, I experimented with a lot of things that didn't work, and then a lot of things that obviously did work. So I got really caught up in like castor oil packs and Epsom salt baths, and taking a laundry list of supplements from my chiropractor, and getting massages every week. And while that can really make you feel good for a little while, that's not what moves the needle when you're dealing with chronic illness. So I figured out, after I realized it was an infection, that I had to actually address the infection, which can be scary, because you're talking about, with Lyme disease, long-term antibiotics or a really serious natural herbal antimicrobial protocol that may or may not work, and parasite cleanses and heavy metal chelation, which can be really difficult waters to navigate, and therapeutic doses of supplements, and things that are really going to move the needle, like I said. So along this journey of starting these events and conferences, I realized I needed to create some kind of guidelines or stepping stones that explains to people how I'm looking at healing. I need to framework the lifestyle that it takes to take back your health. And I don't know if you noticed, the logo is a hexagon, 6 sides, so it corresponds with 6 steps to take back your health. And step 1 is eat nutritious food. Obviously, that's the foundation. 2 is move your body. And 3 is detox your environment. 4, love yourself and others. 5, heal with herbs and supplements. And 6, indulge in your life. So I'll go through each just briefly. I'm sure that you guys are getting a lot of details on all of these today. Eat nutritious foods would be, for me, it would really be, for someone who's chronically ill, it would be more than just moving to whole foods. That's the very first step. The next step would be switching to organic. The next step would be eliminating the foods that are putting extra stress and burden on your body, like potential food sensitivities and food allergens. And I think the top 5 for anyone with chronic illness to eliminate would be gluten, dairy, corn, soy, and eggs. And then you've got adding therapeutic foods into your diet. So you've got superfoods that can give you micronutrients that we're lacking and can help your biochemistry rev up again and start producing hormones and balancing everything. So you're thinking like bee pollen, blue-green algae, camu, and all of the high vitamin C rainforest fruits. And then you've got fermented foods like raw sauerkraut and kombucha and kefir, and then that'll help restore the microbes in the gut. And you've got also thinking about foods that are contaminated with mold that can give you headaches and depress your immune system on a low, consistent basis. So it goes deeper than just switching to whole foods. And at first I was switching to whole foods and eliminating the allergens, but I didn't think about all that other stuff. And what I noticed one time was I got this book called, I think it was just called Superfoods by David Wolfe. And it talked about some of the top superfoods. And we're talking foods that are more dense in nutrients per calorie than most other foods. So when you eat it, you eat a lot less of it, but you get way more nutrition than like a strawberry. So you would, so I think the ones that I picked up from that book were the bee pollen and the blue-green algae that really resonated with me. And I made a smoothie with blue-green algae, spirulina, and later in that afternoon, this was at a point in my life where I was living with my parents. I was sitting on the couch most of the day, and I made the smoothie. Later in the afternoon, my mom was sitting down next to me, and I was looking at her and thinking, why do I feel so good? This is the best I've felt in a really long time. And then I thought, I had that smoothie today. And I laughed because David Wolfe has a website called thebestdayever.com. And so to me, it really felt like the best day ever because I hadn't felt that good in so long. And I think it was all the micronutrients that gave me a little more energy that day than normal. So from there, I just dived in and started incorporating a lot of those foods, and they really helped with my energy and my healing. So eat nutritious foods. It's a huge topic, but this is what the foundation of my retreats and conferences are, so that it's one of the hardest things, because we're so linked to food emotionally and culturally and traditionally. So this is the area that takes almost the longest to get used to, and it's taken me almost, I guess 20 years from the very beginning until now, where I feel like I know what really works with my body and what doesn't. And you get to a point and you think you're there, and then you try something else and you realize, oh wait, bananas give me headaches, and then it keeps going and going. So anyways, that's a little synopsis of it. Number 2, move your body. And I like to also add on, move your body and your energy. So I would include not only exercise, movement, stretching, things like Pilates, the typical exercise, yoga, running, going to the gym, weightlifting, whatever you can do at your current health state, even if it's literally just lying on your back in bed stretching. That's where I started, was laying on my back and pulling my knees up to my chest and putting my feet up in the air and doing ankle circles. And then moving from there, as you're changing your diet, you'll feel less inflammation, you'll be able to move more. But moving your energy too is so important. Getting unstuck mentally, emotionally when you're healing is a big piece that can accelerate how quickly you heal. So healing, obviously, emotional hurts, getting unstuck with limiting beliefs, the negative talk that we all have, meditation. I actually got so desperate once that I Googled energy healers and medical mediums and everything in my town, and I found this amazing woman, Annie, and she was a Reiki master practitioner and a massage therapist, and I ended up going to her, and she talked me into doing Reiki energy training. And it may not be for some people, but I'm telling you that Reiki energy healing made a huge difference in my emotional healing. I think something about it just worked really well with what was going on. So not just your body, but your energy and your mind as well. You need to move things around and move forward. Detoxifying your environment. One thing I do want to say about move your body before I forget is that there are certain things that you can do, not just exercise and mental, emotional work, but you can go get body work done as well, and that would fall under this category, like a massage or chiropractor, Bowen work, reflexology, and all of those. It's nice to do all those, but it's not essential. I think that what guided me was obviously my intuition when I was healing, but if something kept popping into my head over and over, like reflexology kept coming up into my awareness. Like I read about it and then someone was talking about it, and then at night falling asleep I was thinking about how I should try it. At that point, like when there was 3 or 4 of those things, that was my trigger. Okay, I'm going to try it. So I'm just throwing that little tip in here randomly, but when you're working on your health and something pops into your awareness 3 or more times, I think it's something to pay attention to. So anyways, back to the 6 steps. Step 3, detoxify your environment. This is talked about a lot this weekend, I think, and it's really concerning what's going on in the environment right now. And I think that we all know about organic food, and that's one really easy thing that you can do. But detoxifying your environment can be a whole lifelong process of your cleaning supplies in your house, and the laundry detergent you use, for example, and the air fresheners that you use, switching from soy fragranced candles to beeswax candles using essential oils. What we're finding is that a lot of these chemicals can disrupt your hormones and your immune system, and also just on a immediate level cause headaches and rashes. So that's just something to think about when you have some of those symptoms that are really frustrating and they don't respond to food. Some of those easy switches, like fragrances, especially in your home. I want to bring up the organic food one more time. Pesticides and herbicides, the effect on your body is really coming to light now, especially with states like California starting to label certain herbicides and pesticides as carcinogenic. These chemicals can sterilize your gut because the pesticides work against the biological processes in these insects and microbes. The soil that these pesticides are sprayed on is sterile and doesn't have those healthy soil microbes thriving anymore, so it can happen in your gut as well. They interfere with hormone production and function. They can alter your immune function, as I said. They can cause birth defects. They can cause, or I'll word it differently, they've been shown to potentially cause cancer, as we've seen the glyphosate, and which is known as Roundup. California has labeled it as a probable carcinogen. And then they increase your risk of developing Parkinson's disease, and they can cause kidney and liver damage. So if you're not buying organic or filtering your water, you're getting these chemicals. I have a list of some of the most common, but one that I wanted to point out, the glyphosate or Roundup, it's banned for home use in Canada, but in the United States, you can still go to Home Depot and buy this chemical off the shelf, and your neighbors are spraying it on their yard, and it's running down into your groundwater. So that's why I said, if you're not filtering your water, you're drinking this stuff. It's really frightening, and I have to tell a personal story. My parents still use Roundup, and it drives me insane. Even with me as their daughter, and I say, you're responsible for whether your neighbors are going to potentially have cancer or not, because you're spraying Roundup and it's getting into their groundwater. That's how serious it is, and it's like really intense when I say it like that, but it's just not okay anymore that we know this and we're still spraying it. So I just wanted to bring it home for you guys. And it's not something that you can remove completely. Getting a Berkey water filter for your countertop and buying organic, at least like 75% when you can. Trader Joe's is a really affordable option for organic. So that's that's like number one to detoxify your environment, I think. All right. Number 4, love yourself and others. This is something that is going to be different for everyone, and it's not meant to sound judgmental, but I feel like so many of us are stuck in emotional baggage, and it plays a role in our healing because, let's say, for example, you have a relationship with your mother that has a lot of friction, and on a day-to-day basis, it takes up a lot of mental space. And instead of spending that time being able to take care of yourself, you're thinking about, what am I going to say to her next, or how am I going to protect my kids from her craziness, or what am I going to tell her next time she calls, or just different things. And I'm being very general with this example, but it takes up mental space, and it takes away not only physical energy because you're stressing and thinking about it, but it's taking away energy to put towards taking care of yourself and your family. So healing family relationships, healing friends relationships, building a community of support, spending time with people who understand what you're going through and who are on your team, that's a really great foundation for being able to take care of yourself and heal. It doesn't all have to happen in one day, but if you have one relationship that's just like a thorn in your side, and if you can take one step to healing that, it just relieves so much pressure. And another example would be forgiving yourself for something in the past so that you can move on. Even if you don't have any of those emotional baggage issues, just taking a bubble bath for a woman, that might be, or going to watch a football game with your friends for a guy, just to de-stress. Whatever it is that makes you feel good and happy and more accepting is going to be a good thing. There's a woman that spoke at one of our conferences, and Adrienne Mills, her company is Yoga with Adrienne. She's got a ginormous YouTube channel, almost over 2 million followers, I think, at this point. And her slogan is "Find what feels good." And this is something that I try to live by now, because I think that what's the point? I'm 30 now, a third of my life, and I'm not doing what feels good. I spent the first third of my life going through hell with health, and now I'm just ready to leave that behind, and I'm real strict about, if it doesn't feel good, how can I get rid of this or fix it or heal it? And so I use that as a guideline sometimes, is just find what feels good and try to do more of what feels good than what feels bad in life. And so a lot of times we've got issues here that are not feeling so good. And this goes back to what Take Back Your Health is all about anyways, which is you're healing for a reason, so that you can enjoy life as you thought you were going to enjoy life. I mean, you don't want to be stuck in bed sick, so you're working on improving your health so that you can have fun. And so if you're not thinking about that already, then what are you going to do when you actually heal? I like to get people thinking about that in the beginning, and I'll actually talk more about that in just one second. Heal with herbs and supplements is really beyond the food piece. So food can only do so much with nutrition, and then for some conditions, like for example with mine, you do have to use herbs and supplements. If you're going to do a parasite cleanse, or if you're going to detoxify heavy metals like mercury if you've had amalgams, or if you have nutrient deficiencies, you have to use supplements, you have to use herbs. And so this is where you might incorporate a therapeutic protocol. For example, with mercury, amalgams, heavy metals, which is interestingly something that I've moved into specializing in, because I talk about it so much, and I've started walking people through that process with amalgam fillings and how to detoxify the mercury now, with a protocol called frequent low-dose chelation, originally developed and made known by Dr. Andrew Cutler. And his passion was working with children on the autism spectrum, but so many adults with amalgams and other people with other heavy metal toxicity are using that protocol, and it's extremely effective without a lot of the danger of the IV chelation or the oral high-dose chelation. So that would be one example of a protocol that you might go through. Another one might be Dr. Hulda Clark's parasite cleanse, or you might go through another cleanse. There's Dr. Daniel Pompa has an amazing protocol, which is quite extensive and lasts a long time, but it's great for parasites and cleansing your cells from pathogens that might go deeper than just in the digestive tract. So those are just a few ideas, but and I will mention one more with the Lyme disease. One of the herbal protocols that worked the best for me was Dr. Lee Cowden's Cowden protocol, which is a really extensive 4 times a day, 9 to 10 months long protocol with herbs, extracts, alcohol extracts, and it was remarkable. Within a month, I went through a healing reaction, threw up for like a week, and then after that, my symptoms, the inflammatory response just went way down, along with all those other therapies I was doing. So this is an area that was, I think, the trickiest for me to figure out what was going to work and also build up the nerve to actually dive in and do them. But it is almost essential if you're dealing with serious chronic illness. And then lastly, indulge in life. So this came about when I guess I was in bed one time thinking, what does my life have to look like for it to actually be worth living? Because I wanted to heal, I wanted to get out of bed and have fun. And so I started making a list of everything I wanted to do with my life. And then I crossed out anything I couldn't do right now, either because of physical reasons or financial reasons or other reasons. And then I was left with a list of things that I could do right now that I wanted to do. And guess what? That would make me feel good. So I started there, and I started enjoying life even though I was still sick. I can't tell you how many people come to me and say, my only focus is healing right now. I just want to get better. I don't care what the food tastes like. I don't care what I have to do. Just tell me how to get better. I'm going to focus on that 100% right now until I'm better, and then I'll think about life. And it just doesn't work that way. You can go through moments like that in days, like if you're beginning a protocol or if you're grocery shopping for a new diet plan and you're trying to figure it out. But life is always going to throw you challenges. You're going to have financial challenges. You're going to have relationship challenges. You're going to have challenges with work and career, and just it's going to keep coming. That's how life is. So if you can't learn to move through this challenge of healing while also finding things to indulge in and enjoy, then you're going to end up having a really unhappy period of time because healing takes a while. And when you finally get healed, then I think you might be a little confused about how to enjoy life. I certainly felt that way. I felt like I was training myself to live a restricted, dry, unhappy life. And starting this company, Take Back Your Health, I think is really what got me out of that and healed me emotionally and taught me that you have to start enjoying life now, because it got me out in front of all these other people with them and going through the trenches with them. And it's beautiful to have a community around you, and it's really amazing to see other people go through it, and it's great inspiration. So having a community of support is part of this healing process as well. These are the 6 steps. Eat nutritious foods, move your body, detoxify your environment, heal more deeply with herbs and supplements, love yourself and others, and indulge in your life starting now. Oh, okay, that was like 20 years in one. I want to tell you guys what I'm doing now because I've alluded to it a lot. This is the Pasadena conference I told you I moved out to California to do. This is the DC conference that we started with 8 years ago. I've done 14 conferences now in both Virginia, Northern Virginia or DC, and California. And then the retreats are still in Virginia on the East Coast, in Charlottesville, Virginia, and in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And I'm about to do this retreat, the Farm to Table retreat in Charlottesville, which is sold out. And this is actually where I'm living now. My fiance and my daughter and I just moved back to Charlottesville, Virginia, where my family is. My sister is there, she's pregnant, and my brother with his kids and wife. And so I'm very happy to be able to raise my family around my family, and it feels so good to be back. But this is going to be there in Charlottesville, and the Outer Banks one is coming up in the spring. The grand vision is to open a wellness retreat there in Charlottesville with my family and bring people in, and doctors, have resident doctors and therapists, and walk people through this. So, and have our little farm and make our own supplements and products. So it'll one day get there, hopefully, but that's where I'm at now. And I do think maybe I have 1 or 2 minutes if you guys have a question or two. This is where you can find me as well. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you. All right. So, are there any questions? I will also be hanging out in the lobby for a few minutes if you think of anything. But I appreciate you guys paying attention for a while. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Thanks.